What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the final round. I'm your host, Isaiah, and I'm going to be recapping Oliveira versus Gamma that just took place, or just ended 20 minutes ago. It was a pretty solid fight night. I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. We had 9 finishes out of 12 fights, and some of the decisions were actually exciting. Uh, the others were a bit weird, but we'll get into those when we get to those. But overall, pretty solid card. Brazil went plus on the card. Some of the fighters did lose, but a lot of them did win. So we'll get right into the fight recap. First fight of the night, we had Luan Lacerda versus Simon Oliveira. Uh, coming into in this fight, both men were trying to outstrength them or outmuscle each other in the clinch, push each other against the fence, and when it got to the ground, Luan Lacerda was just throwing up submissions as much as he could with his legs, trying to get the triangle or armbar. And he threw it up twice. The first time he threw it, Simon Oliveira was able to get out of it and get back into position. But he threw it again, or Luan Lacerda threw up the legs again. It was similar to what Yusuf Salal did to Josh Emmett, where he got the armbar, but he had the other arm in, so he was pulling both arms, and then Simon Oliveira had the tap in round two. And after the fight, Simon Oliveira still had his arm like this, like looked like he was hurt, like he hyperextended it or overextended it or something. But solid win for Luan Lacerda after coming off I think 2 year layoff. Looked pretty good. Um, had a bit of holes in his game, but that's what can you expect after 2 years off? So looked good. I like to see him again, but I don't know. We'll get to off the match make next. But let's move on to Julia Palastri versus uh, Carolina Kovalix. I can't say that name for the life of me. Whatever. Um, Julia Palastri was, dictating the pace in this fight. In the first round, she was real confident and cocky, just keeping her hand down, landing pretty solid combinations on Carolina, and hurting her pretty well. Second round, she kind of wilted a little bit. And Carolina kind of pushed the pace a little bit more, having a bit more success. But it was definitely Julia's round overall. And then in the third round, Julia landed a nasty head kick that wobbled Carolina, and then followed up with a flurry of strikes and punches that Carolina couldn't defend, and they had to stop the fight, especially after the beating she took in this fight. So good solid win by Julia. I need to see a lot more improvements in her defense, her cardio, and um, her technique. More so her defense and cardio because those look a bit lackluster in the fight, and there could be improvements in those areas. Let's move on to Lucas Rocha versus Stuart Nickel. Lucas Rocha got the decision over Stuart Nickel. Um, Looked real dominant in this fight. Um, just landed the more powerful strikes, the strikes you could hear. Um, and Stuart Nickel had a very awkward style where he was slipping and moving strikes where it looked like he would be hurt, but he wasn't. It was just his style. And Lucas Rocha had a hard time, landing combinations due to that awkward style. But when he was able to land, he landed hard and landed well. And he did hurt Stewart to the body pretty well in this fight, with the body kicks and nasty, like body shots. And it was a pretty solid win over Stuart Nickel. Nickel just looked a bit gassed. Didn't look like he had enough energy. I don't think he got here early enough because he did show up on Sunday, so he really wasn't here early enough, I think, to adapt to the environment. So good win by Lucas Rocha. Pretty solid fight by both men, and yeah, really really impressive by Lucas Rocha. Let's move on. We had the debut of Bia Mesquita versus Irina Alexieva. Bia Mesquita looked strong, looked dominant in this fight. First round, she got Irina down, controlled her on the ground for the entirety of the fight, um, and just landed vicious, ground pound shots, vicious elbows, and um, it was a 10-8 round because Irina just wasn't able to get off the ground, just sat there in a way. Um, she was able to survive. I'll give her that. That was key, and she got into the second round. But once she got into that second round, it was game over. Um, Bia got her down yet again, and they got to her back and got her to a rear naked choke and got it done. There is no surviving it. Now Irina Alekseeva is 5-4. I think she should be cut from the UFC. And Bia Mosquito, I don't have much to say. I mean, she looked pretty good, pretty solid for her debut. A 10-8 first round and a submission in the second round. I'm impressed. I liked what I see. Um, I think she could be a good addition to this bantamweight division, but we'll have to see. Women's MMA is the most unpredictable thing you could ever see. Let's move on to Vitor Petrino versus Thomas Peterson. Vitor Petrino put Thomas Peterson to sleep at the start of the third round. Um, Out cold. It was pretty vicious. But leading up to that, Vitor had a pretty dominant first round. They were both, trading advantage clinch positions against the cage again and again. But Vitor was able to land some pretty powerful shots, and he knocked Thomas down twice, which really surprised me. In the second round, he really didn't do a whole much of nothing, or he did a whole lot of nothing. The same with Thomas Peterson. Both guys looked already gassed and winded by the second round. And then in the third round, not much to be said. Thomas moved forward real quick, tried to shoot a takedown. Vitor caught him with a quick uppercut and then a quick left hook that just put Vitor to sleep. And then Vitor landed a couple ground pound shots on Tiamos and got the victory. Um, I still question Vitor's fight IQ because he was having success in the striking and he kept going into these clinch positions. I don't know if he's trying to show a more overall complete game, but I don't like it. I do not like what I see at all. His fight IQ is abysmal, and honestly, I hope he gets slapped at some point soon. I really do. But it's all win by him. The heavyweight division kind of needs someone new, so it is good for the division, but we'll see. Let's move on to Rafael Filo versus Clayton Carpenter. I had Rafael Filo winning this fight, and he dominated this fight in the first round. He got Clayton Carpenter down. Clayton Carpenter, I will give him credit. That dude's a dog. He reversed a lot of positions. His scrambling ability was very solid, very well rounded. But Rafael Filo was able just to out scramble him. He was more stronger. And just was able to out scramble him and lock up a Kimura in the first round. And once you have a Kimura cop locked in, you gotta tap or you're gonna fucking break your arm, destroy your spinal cord. You're gonna fuck up your whole body. Clayton tapped. He is a dog. He is still young. I will give him that. His first two fights, or no, his two last fights in the UFC were a short notice fight against Tagir Ulanbekov and Hafafilo. Two solid dudes. Two solid dudes. He's got two other wins. So I'm still high on him. I still like Clayton Carpenter. I still think he can have success in this division, but he ran into a dog in Hafafilo. And Hafafilo got it done. So good win by Hafafilo. Not much else can be said. I think Hafafilo can be a contender at this flyweight division. I think he's that good. But you know, you know, we're gonna have to wait and see what he's able to do. Maybe you give him someone like no, no. I'd say give him someone like Charles Johnson next, but Charles Johnson deserves a ranked opponent. Honestly, I want to see Charles Johnson on the MSG card. Maybe you give Jaffa Phil someone like Bruno Silva, perhaps, if you want to get into the rankings. That'd be a solid fight. A good one by Jeff Alfilo. Um, and let's move on to the featured prelim of the night. It was Michael Aswell versus Lucas Almeida. What a shot. This fight was done within 2 minutes of the first round. Lucas Almeida came to this fight with a broken right hand. I don't know how he passed medicals. It was rigged, but Michael was the stronger fighter. He had the more powerful strikes. Right off the bat, he was on the pressure on the front foot and just landing hard strikes on Lucas. And as soon as Michael was able to land clean and flush, you could tell Lucas did not like that, and he does leave himself open running in trying to get these finishes because Lucas was clipping him with some decent shots, but Lucas doesn't have the power to put out somebody like Michael Aswell, and Michael Aswell at 25 years old gets a solid win over Lucas Almeida, and yeah, gets his first win in the UFC. He's only 25 years old. I'm excited to see what he can do in this division, and had a very solid performance in that. Not much else to say. The fight was over pretty quickly. So let's move on to Conor Ofley versus Ricardo Ramos. Not much else to say about this fight either. Conor Ofley got the submission by rear naked choke. Um, Ricardo Ramos did have some success in the striking department. Um, landed some decent strikes. He was attempting a leg lock over and over again on Conor Ofley, and it was almost in a couple times, but he got lazy when he broke the leg lock, and Conor Ofley capitalized on it. Got to Ricardo's back, stayed there for the rest of the fight until Ricardo stood up, was leaning against the cage, and then he was fight. I'll give him credit. He was fighting the whole time up until Conor Ofley locked in the submission, but he locked in the submission, and that was that. Conor almost wasn't able to do much of anything else. Um, he had a solid first couple minutes, but overall, Conor Ofley got a good win over Ricardo Ramos, and I like Conor Ofley. He's a fun guy to watch. But yeah, he got his first win in the UFC, so we'll see what he's able to do. I won't say he's anywhere near contender status or a problem yet, but we'll see what he's able to do. Got a win over a good veteran contender in Ricardo Ramos. So yeah, let's move on. We had Mario Pinto versus Jonathan Diniz. Mario Pinto showed a complete, well-rounded game in this fight. In the striking, he didn't really engage as much as I thought he would. He immediately shot for the ground against Jonathan Diniz, and it was a good idea because Jonathan Diniz did not have anything for him. He could not get up off the ground. And Mario Pinto controlled him, held him there for the entirety of the first round. Landed some pretty solid ground and pound strikes. Um, Solid elbows, solid strikes, and this out controlled him. And then in the second round, on the feet for a little bit more, and then Mario Pinto was able to get him down again, and then able to get full mount position right against the fence where Janata couldn't, push off or sprawl around, kind of stuck, and Mario just landed again and again and again, just fucking raining down shots. Janata was not able to defend the way he should have, and they had to stop the fight. So it was a TKO victory for Mario Pinto. He stays undefeated at 11-0. And he's another dude to watch out for in the heavyweight division. An undefeated heavyweight contender. That's that's something to see. I like to see that. So good win by Mario Pinto. And let's move on to Joel Alvarez versus Vicente Luque. Joe Alvarez had a solid decision win over Vicente Luque. He had a solid first 2 rounds, um, outstriking Vicente Luque, landing some solid shots on him, and sorry, I'm supposed to try. But landing some damaging shots. His jab was money. The jab was out there. Vicente had a hard time getting past the jab. He was landing the jab consistently throughout the fight, and he was hurting Vicente Luque, landing some flying knees, some elbows, nasty body kicks, nasty leg kicks, body shots, and it was going his way for the first 2 rounds. And then the third round, they got to the ground. And in the second round, you kind of saw Vicente start to quit a little bit, shell up, not really do much. Joel Alvarez was just landing ground pound shots over and over again. They could have been logically stopped. They didn't for some reason. Um, but this held them on the ground for the most part in the second round. Then the third round, for the entirety of the round, it was on the ground. Vicente kind of shelling up a little bit, and then it looked like Joel had a inverted triangle locked in, not solely locked in, but locked in right on the chin at like 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the round, and it stayed in that exact position for the rest of the round. Nothing happened. They could have logically stopped, or not logically. They could have stood him up, and that could have been that, but they didn't. This is why you don't put local refs on the main card, dude. This is why you don't. This is the point exactly. They don't know what the fuck they're doing, dude. But Joel Alvarez got a good, solid win in his welterweight debut over a former ranked opponent, or a former ranked welterweight, and a veteran of the division. So I like to see what Joel Alvarez does next. I'll matchmake him in a video. I'll make a video about him. But let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. Davison Figueiredo beat Montel Jackson by split decision. Just kind of out controlled him for the fight. Um, Montel was having success in the striking. He was the quicker fighter, and he was, landing well. But as soon as Figgy shot takedowns and got him to the ground, Montel Jackson just completely became a shell of himself. And the threat of the takedown was too much for him. He wasn't confident enough. He didn't, commit enough on his strikes. Didn't move forward. Let Figgy dictate the pace of the entire fight. I don't agree with this split decision. I could be wrong. Um, I think it was 29-28 across the board for Figgy. I don't think Montel Jackson won round two. Because Figgy did take him down and control him. I think that was enough, but there's an argument that Montel won round three. I will agree on that. So a 29-28 across the board for Figgy is what I agree with. Got a solid win. Not the most exciting. Um, just, dictated the pace, kept Montel wary about the takedown, kept him on the outside, and just did enough to get the win. I won't say I was impressed. He wants to fight Marab, but let's be honest, Marab fucking dog walks this guy all day. And a split decision win over Montel Jackson cannot guarantee you a title shot ever. Not in this division. Especially when Song Yudong probably going to fight O'Malley next. You got Mario Batista fighting Umar. Those guys, the winner of those fights get more of a shot than Figgy ever does. So, good solid win by Figgy. He snaps a 2-fight losing streak, but we'll see who he's able to fight. Maybe someone like, I don't know, a David Martinez or a Kyler Phillips. I don't know. We'll see. Good solid win by Figgy. But let's move on to the best moment of the night. The main event of the night. Charlie Do Bronx gets it fucking done in round two. He submits Mateusz Gamrot in round two. Back-to-back weekends, we get Alex Pereira and Charles Oliveira winning by finish. We could not be more back, ladies and gentlemen. We could not be more back. This is a fucking great time. We must celebrate. This is amazing. We have to thank Johnny Walker because no Brazilian was winning a main event all year until Johnny Walker fucking beat John Renan. and snap that streak. And now we've had Brazilian winning main events. It's fucking wild, dude. Fucking wild. Uh, Charles Oliveira just looked like the more, strong. He was out strength. In strength, he was beating Gamrot. This as soon as he got to the ground, Charles Oliveira dictated the pace on the ground. He threw up submissions, just always attacking, not letting Gamrot settle, um, not letting him you know find his rhythm on the ground. Just constantly throwing up submissions. Then he started controlling Gamrot on the ground, and you know landing some pretty good shots. Got to the back, just held him, threatening the rear naked choke, making Gamrot defend for the entirety of the first round. And then going to the second round, they stayed up to defeat a lot more. Charles Oliveira was landing some solid strikes, but Gamrot, with Charles, lacking of defense, Gamrot was able to land some solid shots that landed flesh, but you could tell Charles did not respect the power coming back at him. He knew Gamrot didn't have the power to put him down, and he fought like that. And that's how he always fights. And he got Gamrot down in the second round, and he got to the back again, and there was like 2 minutes and like 3 minutes left, and it was like over. Charles was starting a submission that early in the round, and Gamrot just did not have enough. Charles sinked in the rear naked choke. Um, I don't know how flush it was. It might have been on the chin. So yeah, Charles Oliveira got the win. Gamrot had the tap, and Brazil went 8-7-4 because the fourth Friday night was against two Brazilians, so it can't count that. So 7-4 for Brazilians. Um, 9 finishes out of a 12 fight card. Honestly, dude, this was a fucking great card. And Charles Oliveira submitting Matheus Gamrot to end the night could not have ended it any better. In his home country of Brazil, his fans celebrating him all week. He's like the president walking around, security, having to walk him everywhere. It was fucking great, dude. Charles Oliveira getting the win. It was nothing could have been better. After seeing him getting starched by Ilya, 3 months later, he looks like the same Charles Oliveira of old. He gets a submission victory. Could not be fucking better. And then he calls out Max Holloway for a BMF title fight, which I kind of have a feeling I know what that is because he did say this week he wants a retirement fight with Max Holloway. So he might be looking for his last fight, and against Max Holloway for the BMF title. That's a solid last fight for Charles. I know they're probably going to do Max versus Patty with how the division is shaping up, but maybe they do Charles versus Max for a BMF title fight. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. It has to be sometime next year because I think Max still has a broken hand after the Dustin Poirier fight, but we'll have to see. But solid fucking fight card. Great fucking night. Great fucking fight companion live stream. Had almost 100 views in total, so I'm moving up there, dude. I haven't reached 100 views yet, so we're getting there. You guys are helping the channel, so I appreciate it all. But that's gonna do it for this video. Pay attention to all the future events we have going on. All the breakdown videos I'll be making for all these events. Next week we have Vancouver, DeRitter versus Allen. That's a solid fight card. And then we have the week after UFC 321, Aspinall versus Gane. Pay attention to my UFC 321 trailer that will be coming out before the Ritter versus Allen fight card. It will be coming out this week, so pay attention to that. Pay attention to all the future breakdowns of these future cards, and then the UFC 322. Jake and I will be there. It'll be a great fucking time, especially when Jack beats Islam. So that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Thank you all for watching. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Anything is appreciated. And remember, all the greatest fighters leave it all in the final round. Peace.